We're just loading. And we're in. We're just loading.
All right, cool. Welcome everyone to the GitLab Security Team's Hacker AMA series. We're really excited to host Johan Carlsson for today's AMA. Johan is a web developer by day, and within the last year, he started bug bounty hunting and has already made his way quickly on our top 10 hackers contributor list on HackerOne. Johan, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Johan Carlsson. I'm living in Gothenburg in Sweden. And as you said, I'm a web developer also from like a year ago. I've been doing a lot of other stuff earlier in my adult life here, and went back to computers and did some university here for 3 years, and started working last year, and actually did my first interaction and connection with GitLab and bug bounties through my I don't know what you call that, but my bachelor thesis from university. So that was my first reports to you guys was during that time. And now I live with my family, have 3 kids, and having a hectic life.
That's fantastic. Thank you for the intro, Johan. Let's go ahead and dive into the questions we have for today. For the first one, Heather, would you like to vocalize your question?
Of course I would, but I'm over here multitasking about to post this link onto Twitter. So let me find my question. All right. Oh yeah, so it's super impressive that you went from what you call having zero knowledge in bug bounty hunting to landing on our top 10. What do you think has enabled you to be so successful in my eyes and the eyes of our program? And do you have any other tips for newcomers when it comes to diving into bug bounty hunting?
Yeah, so I can begin with the clarifying probably that zero knowledge is a big statement when you have just finished like 3 years of university computer science. So of course I knew stuff about computers and the web and everything, but I had zero experience in bug hunting, and then didn't know that much about IT security or all these web related issues like cross-site scripting and whatever. I didn't know anything about that. I think that what have worked for me is like a genuine interest, I guess, and perseverance. Like just I kind of, when I get into something, I kind of start tinkering a lot with it, and it becomes like my only focus, and I go around and think about it during the days when I have some time over and stuff like that. So I think my tip would probably be like to keep it interesting, because otherwise it's really hard, I guess, to find anything or to be successful then.
Thank you. Hey, Dom, I think you have the next question.
Yeah, the next 2 even. I see you have diversified a bit, and now half of your HackerOne reputation points come from other bug bounty programs. Well, congrats. And have you seen anything fun in other programs that we should consider implementing on our own bug bounty program?
Yeah, so I have been diversifying because I get a lot of invites, of course, on HackerOne. That's kind of how it works. When you find something, then you start getting these invites. Most of it I haven't had time to look at all, but I have been using it to like learning and test out some more like simple, or as I call like off-the-shelf vulnerabilities that are not as present in GitLab and your program at the moment, but so finding some more like basic CSRF issues or cross-site scripting issues and stuff like that, but also some other like really interesting things when I get to use like all the like other tools and using burp a bit more and stuff like that, which I don't do on GitLab really. But something that I've seen is, and that's probably because you're a big player on the HackerOne at least, so you're not. I guess you don't have the time to be as personal on like every report as to like the small programs that maybe have like 15 reports or something. But I really like the programs that do like a lot of like community things, like special time-bound promos and that answers a lot and quickly in the reports.
Cool. Yeah, it makes sense. And the other question I had was, how do you pick which part of GitLab you're going to dig into? Do you read a release post, or do you look at old bugs, or what do you do?
Yeah, so that my process there, if I can call it that, it's very like haphazard. So I just I kind of just stumble upon things. I do read like the release post every month, and then I wait patiently for the security release, which is even more interesting. And I found a lot of most of the time I find areas of GitLab which I haven't seen or noticed before, and it doesn't necessarily mean that I find a bug that is like really similar to the one, but it points me in some direction and I start digging that way. But I've also found issues by just like randomly clicking on issues on your issue tracker that I find interesting, like someone reporting a weird behavior, and I start digging into that, and all of a sudden you find a new way into the program. It's interesting.
Thank you. Is Eduardo on the call for the next question? You can voice it. I'll just read it. Could you describe in more detail the business model of bug bounty? Do different companies offer different prices for the same type of bug?
Yeah, I guess it's a bit tricky question for me, because the business model, depending on if you ask like the hacker or the program, I guess. For me, I'm trying to push on like impact should be rewarded, I guess, and also like thorough research and good reporting. That's what I try to push when I speak with programs and triage teams. And that also includes, like, of course, a bug on one program, like a cross-site scripting is a good example. It can be like very critical on programs like GitLab, where you can access really sensitive information and you can muck around with the company's CI/CD flows and deployments and stuff. And on some programs like an XSS is really nothing. So I should think it should pay differently. Yes.
I guess I'll keep reading because the next person is probably asleep in New Zealand right now. What do you think about GitLab secure coding guidelines? Anything is missing? Have you looked at them?
Yeah, I've looked at them, browsed through it sometimes, but now I took a look at it when I saw the question, and it's really impressive. I need to dig into it more because it has some like hints for what I should look for, I guess. As I have never like written a single line of Ruby. I haven't even like read it before I started digging into your code base. So it's been like a really confusing, long uphill battle there, navigating the code base. So the guidelines have some good tips for me. Yes. As a developer, I guess it can be hard, even if someone says like SSRF to you and they try to explain it. It's really hard to know like, why is this even important? And you have to be like reminded again and again, like what's actually the problem here. So what I really like your CVSS calculator that you have created. And if I were a developer, I would like a calculator like that. Like I've been developing a feature, then I could just like click through these questions, and then I get some tips like you should really look into like this, and this part of this guidelines, because it's quite long, and to read it through like every time, it's probably time consuming.
Cool. Great feedback. And I'll keep going. Samantha, who's not present right now. Are there any resources, books, courses, websites that you found really helpful when you started into this and you would recommend to a newcomer?
Yeah, so my main source of information was just the HackerOne activity, and especially then the GitLab activity feed of like disclosed reports. That was during my like the bachelor thesis thing. So I did actually like I scraped like the 100 reports that you can get from HackerOne and read through them all, and took notes and stuff like that. And that is kind of my main source of information. Other than that, it's been like, you know, all over the place on the internet, and some Portswigger information. And so, but the HackerOne things are really great. That's also why I try to disclose the reports that I send in that I like myself, because I kind of want to give back and give other people the opportunity to learn from it.
That's awesome. Thanks for doing that. And from Samantha again, what is the most interesting bug or bug that you're most proud of that you uncovered, and how did you discover this bug?
Yeah, so I'm still kind of most proud of one of my, I think it was my second valid report, and the third as well. It was like a multiple issues, and I have this really long discussion with Andrew back and forth about this feature, which are like this project access tokens, which were like implemented in a rather special way where you created this bot user, and it was the first time that I really like just found a bug by thinking about it. I actually found it while showering before going to sleep, and I just had this like revelation, like if I do this, then I probably can elevate my privilege, and then it worked. It was a really great feeling.
It's more like a logical bug that you created.
Yeah.
Is Muhammad on the call? I don't think so. All right, continue. Hi, Johan. Do you have any tips for beginners? I'm currently studying system security. Can you share with us how to build a career in this course in security?
Yeah, so I guess my answer to that would be that I don't really know, because I don't have a career in IT security yet. I'm like my tips would probably it's just kind of the same with like how to like my first answer to Heather there, I guess, like just to find some part of it that you find really interesting, and stay in that area. If it generates like bug bounties, or if it's in like CTFs or hack the box kind of things, at least as long as you find it interesting, I think it's a lot easier to get somewhere. But then also like keeping a presence online, like on Twitter and LinkedIn, and so I guess you get contacted by people if you like start showing your work.
Good tips. We have another question from Yuki Osaki, who's not on the call right now. Well, what is your workflow to find a vulnerability? Do you run GitLab in your local environment? as opposed to testing on GitLab.com?
Yeah, so I have kind of 3 environments, I guess. I have a couple of accounts on GitLab.com, which I use regularly for testing. And then I also have this local installation from kind of source, or like the Arch Linux thing. It's a nightmare to keep it up to date. But I have my GitLab Ultimate license in there. It's in a closet over here, which I use when I need to access like a feature that I need to be like admin on an Ultimate box. Otherwise, I also use this Docker, like just spinning up local servers on my machine if I need to test this like admin stuff without the Ultimate license. But other than that, my workflow is kind of just like browsing around, trying to find new areas, doing it on my phone a lot of times, like reading issues and stuff like that. And then when I find something, I start like digging in, reading source code, trying. So a lot of times I find like the source code for it, but I have no idea like how to get there in the application. So I have to like find a way into that spot, and then start trying to figure out if there is a vulnerability in there. And then when I find something, I start. That's the best part, when you find like this entry point, and I just start like digging and trying to escalate it to something impactful, I guess. And sometimes it succeeds, and sometimes it's just like a regular bug that doesn't affect anything.
And from Yuki again, do you have any sites you refer to or a tool library recommendations for finding vulnerabilities other than reading the GitLab issues as you mentioned?
Yeah, as a lot of people have often references like Portswigger Academy and Portswigger's like cross-site scripting list for tips there. Also like reaching out to some people on Twitter. If I know that someone is like really good at something, I can try to ask them. But I don't really have like this single source where I go to, I guess. Except for the like resolved issues of the HackerOne reports, but on your issue tracker, because then I can also read like how you tried to fix something, or what your discussion and thoughts, how they went and stuff like that, and like related posts, and it's a gold mine.
And a very serious question from me. Do you have some sort of hacking pregame ritual? Do you have, say, you set up at the same time of the day? Do you drink the same thing, eat the same thing, go on the couch?
No, so I have quite. I don't have that much time to do this. Actually, it's usually just during evenings or late nights when sitting in the sofa in front of the TV, and then I kind of sneak my laptop up when the other family are falling asleep, and then I poke around on some things, and yeah, so that's that's it. Whenever I find the time to do it, I guess.
Sounds good. Stefan, I see you're typing a question. We can't, you're not muted, but we can't hear you. All right, I can read the question. We can't hear Stefan. Sorry, but I
see. Maybe try now.
You know what, Dom? You just got You just
I just muted
yourself, maybe.
myself. This is amazing. Great. Great zooming. All right. Stefan asks, having gone from being new to bug bounties to being as established as you are in our program, is there something that you would go back and tell your past self to do better when you were new?
Well, I try not to think like that, because then you go in this like spiral downwards. Like, yeah, I could have started 8 years ago or whatever. So now I try to just look forward, to try to be, or of course I should take notes. That irritates me like all the time when I stumble upon like the same thing. I have to Google and look through and try to find this issue where someone mentioned how to do something, and I just have to find it again. So taking notes, I should have done that from the start, and I should begin now, but I'm just pushing it into the future.
I thought of a question that I didn't add, which kind of might follow on to what you just said, Johan, but we discovered through Twitter that there are some hackers that use GitLab issues to help to track and collaborate on their hack. Do you use GitLab at all for that? And maybe now that you want to start taking notes, it could help.
So I don't really use GitLab. I should start, I guess. No, I've started tinkering with that myself, like because it's also great. You can write like the markdown, like start writing your reports like while researching and saving some time there and like taking notes and stuff. So I've started doing it since I read about it, and I also read some blog post about connecting like an Obsidian note-taking thing to the GitLab pages. So I have I've begun doing it, but as I said, like I don't have that much time, and usually I get stuck in just looking for more vulnerabilities. It's happened to me all the time when I try to like write a blog post or whatever. It just ends up for I'm just sitting and looking at new stuff instead.
I mean, that's not terrible. If you do start using it, I want to know about it. Right, that looks like all the questions. And in the doc, does anybody have any question that they didn't get to ask in the doc? Sorry, that was me accidentally hitting Siri over here. All right, James, I'm going to kick it over to you then.
Yeah, if there's no more questions, thank you, huge thank you to you, Johan, for taking the time to answer all of these and to do the AMA. And thank you to everyone for joining as well. We had a lot of great questions today. I believe this is available immediately, right, on YouTube for the recording. Yeah, and we hope to see everyone on the next one. Thank you all.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Johan. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
All right.
Johan. See you later.